The most powerful man in the world just gave a direct order to the richest man in the world. And for the first time in history, the answer was no. At 4 a.m. Eastern Time, the White House Situation Room transmitted a classified directive to SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. The order, drafted under the Emergency Powers Act, was simple. Immediately disable all Starlink uplink terminals within the geolocation boundaries of Florida and Minnesota. The goal was clear. The federal government is trying to implement a total communications blackout to isolate the rebel governors and stop the coordination of the resistance. They wanted to flip the switch and turn those states dark, but they forgot who they were dealing with. 12 minutes later, Elon Musk posted a tweet that has now been viewed 400 million times. It didn't contain a legal argument. It didn't cite a lawyer. It was just 6 words. Free speech includes free internet. Starlink stays on. Good morning. I am Jack Cross. We are no longer just watching a political crisis. We are watching a collision between the state and the oligarchs. The president has ordered the United States Space Force to initiate active denial measures against an American company. This means effectively that the U.S. military is preparing to jam, hack, or disable American satellites in low Earth orbit. This is the Starlink war, and it changes everything. To understand the magnitude of this moment, we have to look at the battlefield. In modern warfare, information is ammunition. If you can talk to your troops, you can win. If you go dark, you die. The governor of Florida knows this. That is why, when the fiber optic cables were cut yesterday and the cell towers were throttled, he turned to the sky. For the last 48 hours, the rebel states have been running their entire command and control structure through Starlink. The National Guard is using it to coordinate troop movements. The emergency services are using it to dispatch ambulances. And, crucial to the resistance, the alternative economy, the Bitcoin and gold networks we discussed yesterday, is running entirely on Musk's internet. Without Starlink, the rebellion collapses in an hour. The White House knows this. That is why they issued the kill order. They expected SpaceX to comply. Every other defense contractor in history, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, would have said, "Yes, Mr. President," and pulled the plug. But SpaceX is different. It is private. It is run by a man who views himself as a distinct geopolitical power, separate from the United States government. When Musk refused the order, he didn't just break a law. He challenged the concept of sovereignty. He is effectively saying that the digital space above America does not belong to the president. It belongs to him. So, what happens now? The president cannot let this stand. If a CEO can defy a direct national security order, then the government has lost control. We have received reports that the 1st Space Operations Squadron, based at Schriever Space Force Base in Colorado, has been placed on high alert. Their mission is electronic warfare. They are the people who jam enemy radar and communications. Usually, they train to fight China or Russia. Today, their target is a constellation of satellites owned by a U.S. company. How do you jam Starlink? It isn't easy. Starlink is what military strategists call a resilient mesh. There are thousands of satellites moving at 17,000 miles per hour. You can't just shoot one down and stop the network. It's like trying to shoot a swarm of bees with a pistol. However, the Space Force has a weapon called the Counter Communication System, or CCS. It is a ground-based jammer. It shoots a massive beam of radio frequency energy into the sky, drowning out the signal. Think of it like shouting through a megaphone while someone is trying to whisper. We are seeing reports of massive interference across northern Florida right now. Users are reporting that their dishes are struggling to connect. The signal is dropping in and out. This is the invisible war. Invisible beams of energy, fighting for control of the data stream. But Musk is fighting back. Sources inside SpaceX say that engineers are currently rewriting the code of the satellites in real time. They are frequency hopping, changing the channel faster than the Space Force can jam it. It is a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, played at the speed of light. And while the technicians fight in the sky, the lawyers are fighting on the ground. The Department of Justice has just unsealed an indictment against Elon Musk for interference with military operations and sedition. They are threatening to seize SpaceX. They are threatening to nationalize the company. Can they do that? Under the Defense Production Act, the president has massive power to control industry during a crisis. He can legally seize the factories, the launch pads, and the codes. But here's the problem. The engineers at SpaceX are loyal to Elon, not to the bureaucracy. If the FBI raids the headquarters, will the engineers keep the system running? Or will they trigger a poison pill and shut it all down? The White House is terrified of that scenario. Because Starlink doesn't just run Netflix for Florida, it runs the guidance systems for U.S. drones in the Middle East. It connects the Navy in the Pacific. The Pentagon relies on Starlink for its own global operations. If they try to crush Musk in Florida, he could blind the U.S. military worldwide. This is the leverage Musk has. He has built a piece of infrastructure that the empire cannot survive without. He has made himself too big to jail. Let's talk about the situation on the ground. In Miami and Minneapolis, Starlink dishes have become the most valuable object in the city. We are seeing neighborhoods pooling their money to buy a dishy on the black market. People are setting up data havens in community centers. You walk in, you pay $5 or a fraction of Bitcoin, and you get 10 minutes of Wi-Fi. This is how the truth is getting out. This is how the videos of the troop movements are being uploaded to Twitter X. And that brings us to the second front of this war, X, the social media platform. The White House has demanded that X suspend the accounts of the insurrectionist leaders. They want the governor of Florida banned. They want the militia commanders banned. Musk's response? He pinned the governor's latest speech to the top of the For You feed. He is weaponizing the algorithm against the administration. He is ensuring that the rebel narrative is seen by every person with a phone. This is information warfare on a scale we have never seen. Usually, the government controls the propaganda, but now a private citizen owns the printing press and the delivery trucks. The reaction from the establishment is pure fury. We are hearing whispers of a special forces option, a physical seizure of the Starlink Gateway stations. These are the massive ground stations that connect the satellites to the internet backbone. There are several of them in the United States. If the military physically seizes these buildings and cuts the hard lines, the satellites become useless bricks. But these gateways are often on private land or in friendly states. The governor of Texas has already deployed Texas Rangers to guard the Starlink Gateway outside of Dallas. He has stated, "This is Texas property. Federal agents are not welcome." So now we have a standoff at the server farms. Texas Rangers with rifles, standing guard over fiber optic cables, waiting for the FBI to show up. Let's zoom out to the international view. What is China thinking right now? They are watching the U.S. government attack its own tech sector. They are watching the U.S. Space Force jam U.S. satellites. To them, this looks like the collapse of the American model. But it also terrifies them, because they see what Starlink can do. They see that it is impossible to censor. If Musk can keep the internet on in Florida despite the U.S. military trying to stop him, he could turn it on over Beijing. He could turn it on over Tehran. He is demonstrating a power that makes dictatorships obsolete. Russia has issued a statement warning that any interference with global communications infrastructure could be seen as an act of war, largely because they are using Starlink terminals captured in Ukraine. It's a mess of conflicting interests. Back in Washington, the pressure on the president is immense. His advisors are telling him that he looks weak. They are telling him that he cannot let a billionaire dictate national security policy. They are urging him to escalate. What does escalation look like? It looks like kinetic action. We hope it doesn't come to this. But the U.S. military has the capability to physically destroy satellites. They have ASAT missiles. They have laser systems. Would the president order a missile strike on a Starlink satellite? It sounds insane. It would create a debris field that could destroy the International Space Station. it would destroy the commercial space industry for decades. But if he views the network as an enemy command and control asset, he might take the shot. We are entering the Kessler syndrome timeline, the risk of a chain reaction in orbit that destroys everything, and all because of a political dispute in Florida. There is another angle here, the cultural split. Musk has become a folk hero to the rebellion. We are seeing Starlink flags flying next to the American flag in the protest zones. The image of the white satellite dish has become a symbol of resistance, like the Liberty Bell. On the other side, the loyalists view him as a traitor. They are calling for his citizenship to be revoked. They are boycotting Tesla. We are seeing videos of people smashing their own cars in protest. The country is fracturing, not just along state lines, but along brand lines. The military commanders are in a bind. Many of the soldiers in the 11th Airborne, the ones deployed to Minnesota, they look up to Musk. They grew up watching the Falcon 9 landings. They dream of going to Mars. Now they are being told that he is the enemy. Morale is confused. If the Space Force is ordered to jam the signal, will the operators do it? These are highly technical, intelligent officers. They know that jamming Starlink hurts civilians. It stops 911 calls. It stops hospitals from downloading medical records. It isn't a precision strike. It's a blunt instrument. We have unconfirmed reports of system failures inside the Space Force jamming units. Equipment mysteriously breaking down. Software errors. Is this sabotage? Are there sympathizers inside the military who are quietly keeping the internet on? It is very possible. The deep state cuts both ways. As we move into the night, the jamming is expected to intensify. The White House has promised a total blackout by midnight. They want the screens to go dark so they can move the troops without the world watching. If you are in Florida or Minnesota and you are listening to this, download everything you need now. Maps, manuals, contact lists. Get it offline, because at midnight, the sky might close up. But Musk has one more card to play: laser links. The newer Starlink satellites can talk to each other using lasers without touching the ground. They can pass data from a user in Florida to a satellite, to another satellite, and down to a ground station in Europe or South America. This bypasses the US internet backbone entirely. It creates a completely independent orbital internet that the US government cannot touch unless they shoot it down. If Musk activates the laser mesh tonight, he effectively declares independence from American infrastructure. He creates a new digital nation, floating 300 miles above our heads. The president has given Musk until midnight to comply. The clock is ticking. We are 4 hours away from the deadline. This is the ultimate test of the 21st century. Who is more powerful? The man who controls the borders, or the man who controls the data? The man who commands the tanks, or the man who owns the sky? We are about to find out. I'm Jack Cross. Keep your eyes on the stars, and keep your signal strong. The next update will be at midnight.